ऊपर नहीं जा रहा, यहाँ तक ठीक है। ये तो ठीक है, तो यहाँ तक बहुत चला जाना आपका। यहाँ तक कर लीजिए। संसारदावानलनिधलोक त्राणाय कारुण्यघनाघनात्वं प्राप्तः सकलनागुणानमस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभो कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादित्रमाद्यं मनसोरसेन रोमाञ्चकं पाशुतरङ्गभाजो
वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं श्रीविग्रहाराधननित्यानना शृङ्गारतानमादिरमार्जनादो युक्तस्य भक्ताश्च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत्प्रसाद स्वाद्वन्नतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् कृतैव तृप्तिं भजता सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नां प्रतीक्षणा स्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् निकुञ्जयुनो रतिकेलिसिद्धये यायालिभिर्युतिरपेक्षणीया तत्रातिदाक्षात् अतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यतेव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोर्या प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादान् न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायंस्तुवंस्तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलाद दायिने हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः शिलाटङ्कानकालये ito nrsimha parito nrsimha yato yato yami tato nrsimha bahir nrsimha hridaye nrsimha nrsimha madim sharanam prapadde तव कर कमलवरे नखाम अद्भुत श्रृंगार दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृत नरहरिरूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह प्रहलाद नरसिंह प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह प्रहलाद नरसिंह भगवान की जय। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सच विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवते नमो नमः नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रिय से नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो ये अभिलाषे ये तुम्हारा शरण लय तार वांछा पूर्ण कृपा करी कर तारे वृंदावनवासी मोर अभिलाष विलास कुंजे दियोवा नयने हरिव सदा युगल रूपराशि ए निवेदन धर सखीरनुगत कर सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी दीन कृष्ण दास का ये नमो रहा श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न भासे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यादि कानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सच विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवते नमो नमः बंदर तुलसी महारानी की जय।
रामानुजाचार्य काज है।
यस
और निकाल दें।
यस गोमाच
ये यहाँ तक ठीक है। वो तो अभी क्या है ना, वही जो लगा था ना, वो जो बहुत अच्छा है, उसी को अच्छा धो के सूखा को वही लगाएंगे, वो ज़्यादा अच्छा है बिना घर का सपोर्ट लेने से। तो अभी सूख जाएगा और तुरंत धो के बड़ा सा किताब है।
इसमें ये तो माता ने तो ओके इसमें भी हो ठीक है इसमें दो
आप लगा सकते हो इतना पास में है
अरे वाह इसी चैतन्य महाप्रभु के पास है ना रामानुजन तो एक
अच्छा ठीक है देखिए
हाँ बोलिए वो कब तक पड़ेगा कम पे होगा
और इसमें मिल जाएगा सिस्टम कंप्यूटर से
हाँ वो मेरे पास Sri Ramanujacharya appeared in 1017 AD near Madras, South India, in a family of Vedic scholars. Sri Vaishnavas say he was an incarnation of Lakshmana. The word Ramanuja means a follower of Rama. He received this name because Lakshmana always follows and serves his brother Lord Ramchandra. A boy of amazing wit, Ramanuja quickly learned Sanskrit, logic, and the Vedas. He took Diksha and married at age 16. Ramanuja studied with a Mayavadi guru, Yadav Prakash, to master Mayavadi philosophy and defeat it. When the brilliant Ramanuja kept refuting his Mayavadi arguments, Yadav Prakash tried to murder him. Unsuccessful, Yadav Prakash expelled Ramanuja from the ashram. Before leaving, Ramanuja completely defeated his guru's the theory of oneness and no distinction. Ramanuja explained, while a certain unity can be seen in the interrelatedness of all things, still everything within the universe has its own distinct reality. Pearls strung on a thread share unity. Collectively they form an organic whole, a necklace. Still, each individual pearl has its own unique qualities. While spirit, matter, and God may be seen as one organic whole, each has its unique qualities. Therefore, Shankara's principle of absolute oneness can't stand. Rather, the principle of unity characterized by different qualities must be accepted. Sometimes later, Yadav Prakash met Kuresh, Ramanuja's student with a photographic memory. Quoting Shrutis, the best of Vedic proof, Kuresh convinced him that Brahman has transcendental form and qualities coming from the ultimate reality, the supreme absolute truth known as Lord Narayana. Ramanuja initiated anyone, regardless of caste, using the Pancha Samskar purification method. He turned Shudras into Brahmanas. He established that the position of a Vaishnava surpasses all social limitations and considerations. Identifying himself as a servant, Ramanuja taught the worship of the Vaishnavas. Several times, envious Brahmanas tried to poison Ramanuja. To teach detachment to one disciple, Ramanuja staged the following demonstration. He told the disciple to create confusion among the sannyasis by switching their clothes at the bathing ghat. When the sannyasis who were big scholars and renunciates, started wearing each other's clothes, a big argument began. The disciple could plainly see that the renunciates were attached to some cloth. Then Ramanuja sent the disciple to the home of his Grahastha disciple, Dhanurdas. Ramanuja engaged Dhanurdas in the temple to ensure he would not be at home. Following Ramanuja's order, the disciple began stealing jewelry from Dhanurdasa's chaste wife, who was sleeping. After the disciple took the ornaments from one side of her body, she suddenly turned over. The startled disciple fled through the window, but he waited outside the witness. But he waited outside to witness the reaction of Dhanurdas. Upon returning home, Dhanudas talked with his wife. I am worried that the temple needs money, said his wife. What makes you think that? Asked Dhanudas. Because while I slept, one of the temple devotees came through the window and began stealing the jewelry from my body. To go that far, I think those poor saints must desperately need money. What did you do while he was stealing your jewelry? I turned over, but he fled through the window. Why did you do that? Said Dhanudas. I didn't mean to scare him. I only turned over so that he could take the jewelry from the other side of my body as well. Dhanudas rebuked his wife. If we are not so affected, if we are not so affected by false ego, you would have given him all your jewels. Now what shall we do? We have failed miserably. His wife lamented. You are right. It is only my pride that kept me from surrendering everything. How will we ever make any advancement? Watching all this, Ramanuja's disciple was astonished at the humility and surrender of these Grihastha devotees. Ramanuja explained the meaning of two events, the sannyasi's clothes and the wife's jewels. The sannyasis were so attached to some ragged bits of cloth that they fought over it, but the grihasthas were detached even from costly jewels if they were needed for the Lord's service. Ramanuja founded the Sri Sampradaya, one of the four major Vaishnava Sampradayas, Brahma, Sri, Kumar, Rudra. This Sampradaya propounds the Vedanta philosophy of Vishishta Advaitavad, qualified monism. Gaudiya and Sri Vaishnava share many teachings and practices. The Gaudiyas took Ramanuja's explanation of God and the Jiva verbatim. The principle of God is like a blazing fire, while the living soul or the Jiva is like a spark, a small part of God. Both accept three classes of Jivas: eternally liberated, forever bound, freed by devotion and sadhana. Ramanuja taught serving God in Vaikuntha with awe and reverence in Dasyaras, mood of master and servant. Gaudiya Vaishnavas teach confidential service in Madhurya Ras to Radha Madhav within the grooves of Vrindavan. Ramanujacharya wrote many famous commentaries on the Upanishads, Puranas, Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhasya. His commentary on Vedanta presents a formidable challenge to Shankaracharya's impersonal commentary. To this day, Sri Vaishnava disciplic succession from Ramanuja continues to uphold the traditions of deity worship and philosophy systemized by the founder. His samadhi is in Sri Rangam.
book उस किताब में उसका नहीं चैतन्य महाप्रभु के पास खत्म कर
ओके मैं वो देखता हूँ.
मोबाइल मोबाइल नहीं कर वो कंप्यूटर नहीं कर
Life and teachings of Sri Ramanujacharya.
Computer
It's from ISKCON Design. Under the auspices of Srinivas Mandiram, the 25th anniversary in connection with Sri Ramanujacharya's Trinukshatram was celebrated on Tuesday evening. Okay, it is introduction.
कितना
कौन सा? हाँ पढ़ी। Story of Ramanujacharya. Four Sampradayas. Toward the beginning of the creation, Lord Narayan spoke to Brahma. Lord Narayan spoke to Lakshmi that pure devotional service is also given to Rudra and to the four Kumaras. And it is explained by all great and authorized Vaishnavas that without receiving the knowledge from one of these four sampradayas, true understanding of Krishna consciousness cannot take place. In fact, Rup Goswami quotes from the Shastra that without being initiated and receiving shiksha from the unbroken lines of these four sampradayas, one cannot understand Krishna consciousness. One cannot understand what is Vaikuntha. So, if we have to read in Bhagavad Gita as time goes on, you will meet these great sampradayas. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashreya vidu. In the eyes of the masses, and therefore, either the Lord Himself appears or He sends one of His most empowered representatives to create a spiritual revival or to re establish the real spirit of bhakti that is the essence of every sampradaya. So, through the Rudra Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami appeared. Through the Kumar Sampradaya, Nimbarkacharya appeared. Through the Brahma Sampradaya, Sri Madhvacharya appeared, and to re-establish the truth and the essence of spirit, what Lord Narayana spoke to Lakshmi Devi in the mood of pure devotional service, Sri Ramanujacharya appeared. We read Yajna performed for the birth of a son. We read about his books. It was at a time when the greatest of all the acharyas of South India were Sri Yamunacharya, and he had his headquarters in Sri Rangam. Sri Rangam came in this great line of Sri Sampradaya, and he made his teachings in line with the Alvas. The Alvas were very, very great devotees who lived some hundreds of years before, and they wrote beautiful poems. Now one of these great disciples of Yamunacharya was a sannyasi of the name Shailyapurna. Shailyapurna had two sisters. One was Kantimati and one is Diptimati. So Sri Shailyapurna helped to arrange the marriage of his two sisters. After they were married, he went to Sri Rangam and completely dedicated his life only to the service of the lotus feet of his Guru. So Kantimati married a very, very great Brahmana of the name of the Asuri Keshvacharya. And he was very expert in performing yajnas. He was also known as Sarvakrati. And they had one great anxiety in their hearts that they had no son. So he had great faith in the lotus feet of Lord Narayana. He was a very good devotee, very advanced devotee. So he decided that he would go to the temple of Partha Sarthi, which is close to the ocean in the modern day Madras. In those days, that area was called Brindaranya, and he performed a wonderful yajna for the pleasure of Lord Partha Sarthi and requested that a son would be born. And it is explained, while there the night of the yajna, the Lord appeared to him in a dream and told him that you and your wife should return to your native place and an incarnation of myself will be born to you. So with great happiness and confidence, he returned home. Birth of Ramanuja. Some months later, Kantimati gave birth to a beautiful and auspicious child. It was in the year 1017 of the Christian era. Just at that same time, her sister Diptimati also gave birth to a baby child. After a few days, the two sisters came together, also bringing their children together, and they were both just merged in great happiness. When this news came to Sri Rangam, the Shailapurna, he decided to come to give the blessings of his Gurudev to these two nephews of him. They were living in the place called Bhutipuri, and when he came there, he saw the beautiful qualities of his son, of Kantimati. and he would understand that the prophecy given by the great devotee Nam Alwar has been fulfilled. What he prophesies that Lakshmana, the brother of Ram, would take birth as a great Acharya to deliver all the people. So he named this child Ramanuja, which is another name of Lakshman, which means following in the brother of Sri Ram, and named Diptimati's son Govinda. So their parents were very great devotees and very much cultured Brahmanas. So they perform all the samskaras to their children. And from the very birth, Ramanuja was just an ocean of good qualities, very obedient, very humble, very submissive, very learned, very anxious to always hear and learn more and more about the Lord. In fact, he was a natural devotee of Lord Narayana in his earliest ages. Early life of Ramanujacharya. When he was about 16 years old, his father very much insisted that he married. So he got married. Just a few months after his marriage, actually it was only 1 month after his marriage, his father died. He was only 16 years old. So it was very difficult for them to remain in the same place without father. So Ramanuja, being very responsible son as well as husband, he arranged for a house in Kanchipuram, which was a close city, and there they resided. Now during his very earlier years, before even his marriage, there was a great devotee who was also a disciple of Yamunacharya. His name was Kanchipurna. And he used to go from one village to another to worship the deity, and on the way he would always pass the home of Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya was always very attracted by this person's great love and devotion. In fact, although this person Kanchipurna was born in a Shudra family, even great Brahmanas would worship his lotus feet because he had such a simple and humble devotion, and he was always simply anxious to please the Lord. He worshipped the deity of Vardharaj, which is in Vishnu Kanchi. What he would do is just very simple worship. He would fan the deity in the summer. He would dip the fan in water and fan him. He would bring the best, nicest fruits to the deity, and in this way he had such a loving relationship that it is said that he would be able to have conversation with the Lord. And it was known by many great devotees that whatever Lord wanted people to know, he would speak through Kanchipurna. So Ramanujacharya was very happy and much honored to have the darshan of this person from the time to time. And they became very close and loving friends. One day, it is explained Kanchipurna was passing and Ramanujacharya invited him to his home. And when he invited him to his home, they offered him some prasad. And then Ramanujacharya wanted to massage this great saint's lotus feet. And Kanchipurna said, No, you cannot massage my feet. You are the highest caste Brahmana and I am a Shudra. I am a very fallen soul. This is not proper for you to massage my feet. So Ramanujacharya replied, If my being born as a Brahmana is an impediment in serving the lotus feet of the great devotee of the Lord, then I consider this Brahmana birth to be a curse and utterly useless. Because when someone is great devotee of the Lord, there is no question of caste distinction. A devotee of the Lord, wherever he is born, however he is born, and deliver all the world with pure devotional service. So, Kanchipurna was very much happy to hear this young boy's complete faith in the process of bhakti. Discipleship under Yadav Prakash. So after they moved to Sri Kanchipuram, Ramanujacharya was sent to the Gurukul, the ashram of one very great learned Acharya. At least he was famous as such. His name was Yadav Prakash. Yadav Prakash was a follower of Shankaracharya. He was a staunch Mayavadi, but he was very highly learned. So Ramanujacharya very much wanted to understand the Vedas. He was so intelligent that whatever he would hear, he would immediately learn and understand and grasp. Whenever he would hear the Mayavad conclusions of his teacher, it would just cause too much pain to his heart. But because by nature he was very mild, very gentle, and very humble, he would just somehow or other restrain and tolerate his feelings. Ramanujacharya correcting his guru. One day it is explained that Yadav Prakash, after the classes, he asked Ramanujacharya to stay back because Ramanujacharya was his favorite and dear most of all students, because he was so obedient and so humble and so anxious to learn and so capable of learning. So he sent all the other students away. He asked Ramanujacharya to massage his legs with oil. Ramanujacharya was very humbly massaging his legs, and then one student came back and he asked his teacher that I have a question in terms of one of the shlokas from the Chandogya Upanishad. Here it is described that the lotus eyes of Lord Narayana, they are like beautiful reddish color. Can you explain this in more detail? So his guru explained. According to Shankaracharya's verse, that the meaning of this is that he used Sanskrit that the eyes of Narayana are beautiful reddish color like the rear end of a monkey. He was going on explaining in this way, and Ramanujacharya, when he heard this blasphemy of Lord Narayana, just tears started flowing from his eyes, and tears were hot, and they started falling on the body of his guru. And his guru felt these burning hot tears, and he looked up and saw Ramanujacharya in great distress crying. So Yadav Prakash said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "Because I cannot tolerate hearing this blasphemy of the Lord." "What do you mean?" He said, "How could you compare lotus eye of Lord Narayan to the rear end of a monkey?" He said, "That is Shankaracharya's explanation. I am repeating. Can you think of something better?" Then Ramanujacharya very expertly and poetically explained the same Sanskrit verse to explain that the real meaning is that his eyes are red like the red lotus, and that is in the presence of the shining sun. At that time, Yadav Prakash became very angry. He said, "You think you know better than our Acharya Shankara? You think you know better than your own guru?" At that time, there became a great tension between the two of them. On another occasion, Yadav Prakash was giving a lecture and he was explaining how the form of the Lord is illusion, how the supreme absolute truth is Sachidananda, and how he is beyond Sachidananda. When Ramanujacharya was hearing this, he could not control himself. He stood up and he gave a counter explanation which completely defeated his guru, and his guru became very angry. He said, "Why do you even come here to learn from me?" He chastised him. He said, "You are very impudent. You think you can challenge your spiritual master? You are a rascal." Yadav Prakash became very worried that this boy, he is so learned and he was a pure heart. He has a pure heart, so much devotion to Narayana that he will completely destroy the philosophy of monism. He will completely discredit Shankaracharya if he is allowed to continue on. He called some of his disciples to a secret meeting to discuss what to do about him. One of the disciples says, "Why don't you expel him from school?" Another disciple said, "That is even worse. If he expels him from school, he will start his own school, and the way he is speaking, his school will completely defeat and discredit all our Guru's philosophy and make an ash out of our Guru." So then the Guru said, "The only way that we can protect our mission is this boy must be killed." So they planned out a way to kill him. He said, "I will take all of my students on a pilgrimage to the Ganges in northern India. This will take many months, and during that time we will figure out some way to kill him, and then when we come back we will tell them that during the trip he fell ill and he died, and then no one will question us. So they planned out this trip to the Ganges, and Ramanujacharya, when he heard that they were going to Ganges and his gurus taking us on a pilgrimage, he became very, very happy, ready to go. And his cousin Govinda also decided that he would go because he was also a student. So they all went together, and when they came to one place near Vindhya mountain, it is explained that they were in the forest, just living in forest beside a river, and Yadav Prakash sent Ramanuja Charya out to do some errands to collect some flowers, so forth to bring back for worship. And while he was away, Gurudev told the disciples, "This is a proper time that we should kill him in the forest. No one will ever know." While he was speaking, it was just about evening. The sun was about to set, and Govind happened to be in the trees in the forest nearby, and he heard the whole diabolic plan. So he was very much disturbed, and he approached Ramanujacharya in the forest, and he told him, "You should not come back, because Yadav Prakash and his disciples, they were so envious and fearful of you that they planned to kill you on this very evening." So Ramanujacharya began to run through the forest to get away, and when he did not come for a long time, the Guru and the disciples, they started calling him and searching everywhere. When night was beginning to fall, they realized that he must have been killed by some wild animals, and therefore he must be dead, because they didn't suspect that he knew. So they were all very happy and joyful in their hearts. But because Govinda was there, they pretended as if they were very sad. And Yadav Prakash began to preach to Govinda the difference between the body and the soul, and how you should not lament over the death of a body, because the soul is eternal. And Govinda was listening patiently. Ramanujacharya was running through the forest, and he was very young. He was only 18 years old. And he didn't know where he was. He was a long, long away from home. So many hundreds and hundreds of miles from home. He became very fearful, and then in his fearful condition, the night was coming, and in the jungle, he did not know where to go, where not to go. He started to think that Lord Narayana is the supreme controller of everyone, and I am his devotee. So why should I be afraid? He will protect me. And just upon remembering the mercy of Lord Narayana, all of his fear was vanished. And just after he came to that conclusion of taking shelter of the lotus feet of Narayana, he saw a hunter with his wife walking through the forest. They were very surprised to see this young man. "Where are you going?" he said. "I am going to Kanchipuram, but I don't know how to get there. It is such a long way." They said, "We are also going to Kanchipuram. We had already been traveled for over 1 month, such a long distance." He said, "So far away, why are you going to Kanchipuram?" The hunter said, "Well, you see, we kill birds for profession, myself and my wife, and this is very sinful activity. So we must go to Rameshwaram and Kanchipuram to perform yajna and to worship the lotus feet of the Lord to neutralize the offense of our sins. But we will guide you all the way back." So they walked for an hour. They came to a river bank. They started the fire. The wife of this hunter said she was very thirsty. And the hunter said, "Now it is too dark, but there is a well very close nearby, and from that well we'll get water in the morning." But the next morning they came upon that well, and Ramanujacharya climbed down the mountain to where that well was, and he brought water to the lady. She drank, but she was still thirsty. So she went back and forth, bringing more and more water as she drank. One time, when he was bringing it, she disappeared. She was no longer there. He brought the water up. She was no longer there. And the hunter was not there. No one was there. And he was wondering. How will I find Kanchipuram now? And just as he was thinking that way, he looked above the trees. He saw big, beautiful temples. What city is this? Then he saw someone passing by toward the well. He said, What is this city? They said, You don't know this city? It is the famous city of Kanchipuram. And you are the one of the bright student of Yadav Prakash. You live here. How you do not know the city of Kanchipuram? Then that person walked away. Ramanujacharya could understand that that hunter and his wife were Lakshmi and Narayan. He got that realization from within his heart. When he was lost in a helpless condition in the forest, he prayed that the shelter of Lord Narayana always protects his devotees. So, on the basis of the humble prayer, Lord Narayana personally came with Lakshmi to bring him back to his home. Then he just sat by the well weeping and crying in ecstasy, thinking of the great mercy he had just received from the Lord. And then he went back to his home. His mother was very happy to see him. She was thinking it would be at least 6 months, but he had returned only after about a month. And he told her the story why he returned early, how Yadav Prakash was planning to kill him. So she was simultaneously very sad to hear this, but very happy that Lord Narayana saved her son. Well, he was at home, and then soon after this, not very soon, but sometime after this, some months later, Yadav Prakash returned, and when he found Ramanujacharya was at home with his mother, he went to the house and pretended to be very, very joyful, very happy. Oh, we thought you were dead. We see that you are alive. You have been saved by the Lord. He and his disciples made a big show of showing great happiness. But they knew that there was something else. In this way, Yadav Prakash, he saw that Ramanujacharya was becoming so incredibly influential that he wanted him to return to his school so that he could find some other means. So he returned to some time. Yamunacharya visits Kanchipuram. On another occasion, there was a philosophical confrontation. Yadav Prakash became so angry that he just had to kick him away. It is explained that at one time, when he was again the student of Yadav Prakash, Yamunacharya came to Srirangam for the darshan of Vardharaj. And when he was walking through Kanchipuram, he saw this beautiful sight of Ramanujacharya. Now Ramanujacharya had already written a particular commentary on a shloka from Upanishads, which completely defeated Shankaracharya's philosophy, and that shloka became so famous, Yadav Prakash hated it. When it came to Sri Rangam and Yamunacharya read it, he thought, this person is divinely empowered. So he saw Ramanujacharya and Yadav Prakash had his hand on Ramanujacharya's shoulder, and Yamunacharya, who was then over 100 years old, he asked one of his followers, who is that? He said, that is Ramanujacharya. He said, he is the one that wrote that beautiful commentary establishing the eternality of a jiva and establishing the pure bhakti of the highest goal of life. Yes, that is him. He said, what is he doing with this Mayavadi Yadav Prakash rascal? He said, he is his student. Yamunacharya was just so anxious to run out and embrace Ramanujacharya. But Yamunacharya would never associate with Mayavadis. So he began to offer prayers to Lord Narayana. He began to offer prayers that, please rescue this Ramanujacharya, such a wonderful devotee, rescue him from this terrible, terrible association. It is so contaminating to the heart, and bring him again to your lotus feet and the association of Vaishnavas. Yamunacharya, after offering this prayer, he went for the darshan and returned back to Srirangam. Then there was a big confrontation, and Ramanujacharya ultimately left his guru, his teacher. Ramanujacharya desired to be initiated by Kanchipuram. After After he left, he desired to be initiated by Kanchipur, who was a great Vaishnava, but happened to be a Shudra. When Kanchipurna, they would meet regularly, and Ramanujara said, "Now I am no longer associating with this Yadav Prakash. So please, I beg you to initiate me, and I will be your humble disciple." Kanchipurna was very humble. He said, "How can I initiate you? How is it possible? You are so learned. You are a great Brahmana, and I am a low class. I have no real devotion. How can I initiate you? It is not possible." At that time, Kanchipurna, he went to the temple of Vardharaj and he said, "I have dedicated my life only to be your humble, simple servant. That's all I want. But now, somehow or other, you are putting me in situations where great Brahmanas want to be my disciples, and you want to put me in situation of being an acharya. I don't like this at all. So with your permission, I want to leave Kanchipuram and go to Tirupati to worship your form of Balaji." So Vardharaj said, "Yes, you go and worship me in Tirupati." So he just left. After 6 months, the summer came, and Balaji spoke to Kanchipur and said, "I am very hot, and no one refreshes me with such a loving service as you. So you must return to Kanchipuram, and you must serve me in my form of Vardharaj." So then he returned. Again Ramanujacharya asked Kanchipur for initiation, and he told him, "I cannot do this." Ramanujacharya started to think that the reason why he is refusing to accept me as a disciple is because I have a sinful heart and I have no devotional sentiments. Therefore, he does not want such a useless disciple as me. So he was thinking, if somehow that I get the remnants of this great devotee's food, this Maha Prasad, then perhaps I will become purified and be worthy to be his disciple. With this plan in mind, he invited Kanchipurna to his house for prasad. He told his wife, her name was Rakshakambala, that you must make a best possible prasad for this great Vaishnava devotee. She worked very hard on his order and cooked so many beautiful preparations, and Ramanujacharya, just about noon time, he went to the home of Kanchipurna to personally escort him to his house for prasad. So after he left, Kanchipurna knew Ramanujacharya's plan. So he came to the house from another way. He told Rakshakamala that I am in great hurry. Vardharaj is calling me and I must do seva for him. You must give me prasad immediately. She said, "But Ramanujacharya has already gone to your place. You must have come another way. He will be here only in few minutes." He said, "I cannot wait. I cannot keep the Lord waiting for my service just to feed my belly. So serve me just now." So very carefully, with great attention, she served him all the different preparations, and he ate them all and then got up. He was so humble, he washed his place with cow dung and water mixture, and then he threw his leaf plate. What she did is just cleaned up everything, and Kanchipurna left and Ramanujacharya returned. He said, "Why are you cooking again?" She was cooking again. "Where is Kanchipurna? I could not find him." She said, "He was here. He already ate." He said, "He ate? Where are his remnants?" She said, "Well, he is a Shudra. How could I give you his remnants? You are a Brahmana. We are both Brahmanas. I have given his remnants to a Shudra woman, and now I am cooking again for you." He became so much upset, so much disturbed. He said, "You are a rascal woman. You are the most unfortunate. What an offense you have committed to a great soul, thinking of him to be of a certain caste. He is the greatest devotee. The goal of my life was to be fulfilled by taking his remnants, and you have spoiled everything." He sat down with his head in his hands and began to cry. Ramanujacharya asked Kanchipurna about his initiation. So Kanchipurna spoke to Vardharaj and had many instructions for Ramanujacharya's life that he gave him about the nature of the Atma and the nature of Paramatma, his duties to preach the glories of the Lord, and he also explained that you should accept initiation from one of the great senior devotee of Yamunacharya. Actually, this happened a little later. What happened first is Yamunacharya, he was very old and he became very much sick, and all of his disciples gathered around him, and this was in Srirangam. It appeared that he was going to leave his body any day. So Yamunacharya was remembering Ramanujacharya, and one of his very dearmost disciples, he told him that you must go to Kanchipuram and bring Ramanujacharya here before I die. So he went to Kanchipuram, and when Ramanujacharya heard that Yamunacharya was calling for him, he was just bringing some fruits and flowers for Vardharaj. He said, let me just bring this to the deity and then I will go. So he brought them to the deity. He made his offering. He said, now let us go. This great devotee of the Lord, he said, what about your wife and your mother? You will not even tell them where you are going. He said, on the order of Guru, one cannot even consider one's family. He is calling for me. This is my great fortune. I cannot hesitate. And they just went to Srirangam. It took several days of walking. During that trip, Yamunacharya left this world after he gave his final instructions to his devotees. Essentially, his final instructions were to always offer flowers and the best of whatever you have to the deity of Sri Ranganath, and always remember his lotus feet. Depend always on his mercy and free yourself from the false ego by always serving the Vaishnavas. This was his final instructions, and then he left. They began to make his funeral arrangements. They had a procession with his body. They brought him to the river Kaveri and they were about to put him in Samadhi. And at that time, Mahapurna and Ramanujacharya arrived. They heard that Yamunacharya had left his body. So they both began to weep and cry. And they both ran to the place where the funeral was about to take place. And when Ramanujacharya saw his Guru lying there, he felt his presence so strongly. He did not appear like a dead body to him. It appeared like full of life, full of bhakti. People saw how Ramanujacharya was looking at the beautiful form of Guru, and it was great wonder in everyone's mind. And then Ramanujacharya noticed that three of the fingers of Yamunacharya very tightly and intensely closed. So he asked, did Yamunacharya usually keep his fingers closed like this? They said, no, we have never seen him like this. So then Ramanujacharya, understanding the inner heart of Yamunacharya, he said, I will take 3 vows on this day. One is I vow to spread the message of pure devotional service by my example, by my words, throughout all the land. When he said that, one of the fingers opened and became straight. He said, I vow to write a Vaishnava commentary of the Vedanta Sutra of the name Sri Bhashya, which refutes Shankaracharya's arguments and establishes pure devotional service and eternal servitude to the Lord as Supreme. When he spoke, that the second finger opened. He said, due to great gratitude and appreciation for Parashar Muni, the father of Vyasadeva and the exponent of so many instructions and the glories of Narayana from the Vishnu Puran, I will name one of the disciples after him. At that time, the third finger opened. When everyone saw this, they could understand that Ramanujacharya really was being empowered by Yamunacharya to take over his mission. Because Yamunacharya, although he preached and wrote so many beautiful prayers and writings, such as Strot Ratna and others, these were the 3 missions that were left unfulfilled in his life. The 3 things that he wanted to do, but he was not given the time to do. So Ramanujacharya, being the very, very dear disciple, understood what his Guru wanted. So everyone was struck with wonder, and everyone could see that he was truly empowered by the mercy of Sri Gurudev Yamunacharya. Then Ramanujacharya decided that he would go back to Kanchipuram. So he returned. On his way, the devotee said, "Don't you want to see Ranganath before you go?" He said, "How can I see that Lord, the Lord of my life, Yamunacharya, who was my eternal guide, my eternal preceptor, my shelter, my refuge, he has taken away before I could even meet with him or speak to him." In this mood, he went back to Kanchipuram, and there he was meeting with Kanchipur, this great devotee, regularly. It was there then that Kanchipur told him that the Lord has told me that you will take initiation from a very, very great disciple of Yamunacharya. His name is Mahapur. So 1 year went by, and the devotees at Srirangam, they celebrated the first anniversary of the disappearance of Yamunacharya, and they began to think, since he has left there so many great devotees, but nobody could speak and inspire people the way Yamunacharya did. Therefore, there is becoming much complacency and stagnancy in our mission, in our sampradaya. The only hope is that Ramanujacharya come. So they sent Mahapurna to go there, and when he went, this great devotee, he went with his wife. They were also from a lower caste, Shudra caste by birth. Ramanujacharya was so happy that he divided his house in half, gave half to them, and then he accepted initiation from Mahapur. He also ordered his wife to accept initiation. He was so happy for many months to serving his Guru. Although he accepted Ramanujacharya as Guru, although he accepted Yamunacharya as his Guru, because he never accepted initiation from him, he accepted from one of his disciples, and therefore he was the disciple in one sense, in the Shiksha level of his own god brother. His Shiksha Guru was Yamunacharya, but his Diksha Guru was his god brother. One day, when Ramanujacharya was out, his wife was drawing water from a well, and Mahapurna's wife was also there, and accidentally a few drops from Mahapurna's wife bucket entered in Raksha Kamla's bucket. She became very angry and she became furious. She said, "You have spoiled all this water. You think I can use this water after it has touched the water from a bucket of a Shudra? Just because your husband has initiated us, that my husband is so crazy, we lost all our distinctions of caste," and she began to chastise her severely. She said, "Now all this water has to be thrown away. It is all a waste because of your carelessness." Mahapurna's wife was very humble and very shy, so she didn't say anything. She just sat down and started to cry. So when her husband came back, Mahapurna asked, "What happened?" His wife told him. He said, "It is the arrangement of the Lord Narayana that we return to Srirangam. This is his indication that we should not stay here any longer." So they immediately left. When Ramanujacharya returned home, he said, "Where is my Guru gone?" He was looking all over, and his wife explained, "I just gently chastised her for doing like this." "What? You crazy human? You have insulted the wife of my Guru? You have insulted my Guru himself by considering him to be a Shudra." He said, "You are such a sinful creature. It is a sin to even see your face." And he walked out. He was very upset by all this. Although she was a very obedient wife and always ready to help her husband in every way, and she was so beautiful. She was beautiful like an apsara, and she performed all rituals. She believed in Narayan, but she did not have the spirit of devotion that her husband had, the inner feelings of the essence of real devotion. Thus, she was becoming a great impediment, but she was very much upset by her husband's words. Shortly after this, one Brahmana was begging alms, came to the house. Rakshakamala was there. Ramanujacharya was out, and when he saw the Brahmana, he said, Brahmana, why are you looking so dejected? You look very hungry. Did you not get nice food? He said, I went to your house, but your wife, she was very angry, and she kicked me away and called me a beggar. Ramanujacharya began to think very deeply for a few moments, and he said, I have a plan by which my wife will feed you very nicely. He wrote a letter, he said, You bring this letter to my wife, tell her that this letter is from her father in her native place. So he brought the letter, and when she heard that this man was a messenger of her father, she became very happy. Oh, you are a messenger of my father? She read the letter and she was very happy and served him all nice, wonderful prasad and then sent him on his way. Then Ramanujacharya came, she said, I have received a letter from my father, and he read. It was a letter to Ramanujacharya saying, My dear son, your wife, sister is about to be married, and there is so much work to be done, and your mother-in-law cannot do it herself. Please, it is urgent, and you must send Rakshagamla right away. And if you can come, that is very good. But if you have some urgent business, at least send your wife immediately. When Ramanujacharya said to his wife, I have urgent business. I cannot go now, but you should go immediately. And when you go, offer all my respects and love to your parents and to everyone and tell them if I can take care of my business, I will come as soon as possible. She was very happy. She packed her things and she left. And just after she left, he went to the temple of Vardharaj and said, Today I want to surrender everything to you. Today I want to completely take shelter of your lotus feet. I do not want any distraction from my service to you and from preaching your glories. Ramanujacharya, he brought saffron cloth and he made a tridanda, and he went to the banks of river. There he started a fire to perform a fire sacrifice. And just at that time Kanchipurna came, and Kanchipurna, he gave him sannyas, and then he gave sannyas name Yatiraj. Ramanujacharya went back into the town of Kanchipuram, and when everyone saw that he had become sannyasi, he was such a young man and his wife was so beautiful, and she didn't even know what was happening. Some people condemned him. They thought he had gone mad. They thought he was crazy. But others who were most sincere understood that he is the most compassionate, most benevolent. He had given up such pleasures of such a beautiful wife. His mother had already died some time before, and people one by one started coming to seek shelter of his lotus feet. And he began preaching with such a force and such a devotion that gradually so many people were coming and coming. Ultimately, the devotees in Srirangam, they requested him to come Srirangam to make his best there, because that's where his Gurudev was residing. He went to Srirangam and made his best, and and in this way he preached the great philosophy of Vishishta Advaitavad. And of course, we can speak for many hours about about the life of Ramanujacharya. So many wonderful incidents, such a pure and great philosophy. He was really the first Acharya to combat against the monistic view of Shankaracharya. In fact, he became so popular amongst the devotees that throughout the land people were falling at his lotus feet. But amongst the Mayavadis, they either had to surrender to him or they had to hate him, and there were even plots to kill him. There is a story of one king, and this king, he was a Shankarite. श्री गुरु चरणा पद्मा केवल भगति सद्मा वंद मोहे सावधान ते याहार प्रसादे भाई ये भव तरिया कृष्ण प्राप्ति हो होते गुरु मुख पद्म वाक्या चिते ते करिया क्या आरण करी मने आशा श्री गुरु चरणे रते ऐसे उत्तम गति ये प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान दिलो ये जल में प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशिता प्रेम भक्ति यहाँ हैते अविद्या विनाशयाते वेदे गाय आहार चरिता श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवाना हा हा प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पद छाया एबे आज घुषुक त्रिभुवाना एबे आज घुषुक त्रिभुवाना जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद शिल्पपाद की जय नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
अरे उसमें टीवी लगा दीजिए।
हाँ जी लगाते हैं।
दर्शनार्थी अभी दर्शन खोल रहा है। मायापुर इसको मायापुर में चलता है।